Live in three, two, one. Hey, we are live. How are you doing tonight, Rebecca?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Can't complain. I guess though, we were talking earlier. You are not a Star Wars fan, or you've actually never even seen it. So
Yeah, that's kind of sad, but I've never seen a Star Wars movie tonight, so I know a lot of people are probably going out tonight to catch the big film, but I'm not one of them. That's why I'm here.
yeah, I was kind of curious what when you're competing against what's it called? I think it's not the is it no, it's the Last Jedi, not the Return of the Jedi. Competing against the Last Jedi in a worldwide hit phenomenon that's gonna hit billions of dollars in revenue. We've got a
Yeah,
devoted
I
we've
guess
got a
everyone
devoted
will catch
audience.
me later, right?
No, definitely. So now, growing up, did you have interest? Are you more of a fiction person? Are you more of a nonfiction type? Are you a history buff? You
So,
know.
growing up, what I did a lot of was reading. So, it's really weird because I remember I was like in the third grade, and some kid, I guess, in an attempt to bully me, called me like an encyclopedia. And
Oh,
I was like, I didn't know if I should take that as a compliment or not. I love to read. I love looking for information, that sort of thing. So yeah, you'd probably find my head in a book before I'm watching a movie or something like that, which is very interesting because a lot of people tell me, hey, have you seen this movie? And when I say no, they're like, how could you not see that movie? What is wrong with you? And I'm like,
well, everyone's got their thing. So hey, real quick, I've had a few comments. Apparently, your voice is clear. My voice is kind of fuzzy. So can you hear me okay, Rebecca, or am I a
Actually,
little
your
muffled?
voice is kind of fuzzy. It's like choppy.
Oh, okay. Let me do this. Let me switch to a microphone. The only issue is my son is watching some movies. So let me do this. Give me 1 second. Let me switch to a different mic because I had it
Okay,
on my headset, thinking that'd be a little better. Hold on. Does it sound a
that's
little bit?
better.
Does
That
it
is
sound a lot
better.
better now? Okay. Well, hold
Yes.
on for 1 second. I gotta tell him to turn down the volume because the mic will pick everything up.
Okay. Hi, Lorna. Thank you for joining us. Hi,
So yeah.
Arlene. Hi, Barbara.
So thanks for everyone who helped clear things up. Tonight, what we're going to talk about, it's a very focused session. I know a lot of people have questions still on all sorts of things, and we aren't saying we're not going to answer them, but in the interests of time, staying focused, being respectful for the audience, we've gone more towards segmented sessions. So, people, I know that a lot of people still out there are having issues, getting their Bittrex verified or getting their GDAX working and everything like that. If that's still outstanding, we actually have a session tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. If you need details, it is pinned into at the Facebook forum. So if you go check the Facebook forum, also an email was sent out, I believe this morning or yesterday, discussing those. The link should be there, and we should be all good. If you still don't have it, feel free to ask a question, and I will do my best to respond to it with the registration link. So yeah, so for purposes of this topic, what we call nuts and bolts discussions, those will be off topic, and we will not be answering those questions. Not because we're trying to be rude or anything like that. We just want to stay on task. Second thing, we're not really going to talk about coin strategy. So if you're asking us like, what about Tether, or what about this or that, that also is off topic. And specifically today, what we want to talk about is, the concept of trading, and more importantly, what comes with trading or buying and selling is the tax man. And we have with us Rebecca. Why don't you take a second to introduce yourself, Rebecca? I know you as just like a really smart person who has lots of letters behind her name. And that's something that's interesting because my parents always wanted me to get advanced degrees. I don't know if I've ever mentioned, but
You're
like,
going to be a doctor, right?
well, I mean, tell me about it. My family is like, my mom has a PhD, my dad has a PhD. Everyone, like uncle and aunt, all have PhDs. So like that's the world I come from, right? And I'm the guy.
Gotcha.
I went to school for 3 years and then I got sidetracked on other things. And a funny story is, up until my grandfather died, he lived till his 90s. He still wasn't quite sure what I did. And back then, I was actually doing, I was in the wireless industry. We were doing like cellular towers and stuff like that, but he didn't get it. So like the only thing he understood was like wireless and like rooftop. So like he literally died thinking I was a Dish TV installer. You know? Yeah. So funny stories aside, let's take a second. Why don't you give us like, you know, a 2-minute or a 5-minute introduction of yourself, Rebecca, you know, who you are, what you come from. Let's kind of spice it up because it is Friday. So let's do favorite food and also a hobby in addition to all like, you know,
Reading.
I mean, we know you're really smart. So we want to know like what else there is.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm Rebecca. I'm a CPA and an enrolled agent. I mentioned with our last video segment that I earned my CPA license last year, took a very hard, difficult test. Trust me, there were some times I was ready just to throw in the towel and just say, forget this, because it was very frustrating, but I ended up passing and earning my license. And I'm also an enrolled agent, which is a tax specialist. It's a license granted by the U.S. Treasury that is strictly about taxes. Tax professionals can get this license if they want to be official with preparing taxes, representing clients before the IRS, and so on and so forth. Assisting in audits, are actually representing the client before an audit, et cetera. So about me, I'm currently in the DMV, which is the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, Washington, DC. So I came here about 3.5 years ago for, I guess, a fresh start, because I'm originally from Connecticut, and I've lived there for, I'm in my early 30s, so I've lived there for damn near all my life, besides when I came here from Jamaica. I was born in Jamaica, and I wanted something new. I wanted something fresh. So I came to DC with a, you know, I used to be a soldier in the Army. So I came with a clearance and thought it would be easy to find a job. And for the most part, it was all right. Lots of CPAs, if you have a clearance, you guys are in demand down here because the government gets audited a lot. And that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years. I've been auditing the government. Interesting fact, I went to the White House, audited some restricted areas this year. That was awesome. So
okay, so just to be clear, when you say clearance, you have some sort of what, military clearance or secret clearance that allows you to work on? This
is a secret clearance. I originally got one from the military, and now my clearance is good for another, 8 years or something like that, as long as I keep it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so I do still dabble in auditing. That's pretty much where my bread and butter comes from while I build my company up. I just opened my company, Pythagoras LLC, July 28th of 2017, to offer accounting and tax services for individuals, entrepreneurs, and small business owners. I really wanted to form a niche, which is the whole reason why I got into Bitcoin in the first place, because the IRS put out a notice that only 800 people reported having Bitcoin, and they know that the number is a lot more than 800. So I was like, hey, this might be an area. I'm a new CPA. I want to get out here. I'd like to get some clients. It's going to be hard, trying to get clients. So I was like, hey, this might be an area that I could specialize in and, let the clients come. And that's kind of what has happened so far. So I really want to thank you and Dr. Boyce Watkins for having me on, because the first video, it was received very well. And a lot of people have been contacting me to the point where I've actually had to shut my phone off, because I actually have a day client, and I'm getting phone calls while I'm having, my day client. He's looking at me and I'm like, oh, don't worry about it. It's okay.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate the fact that you guys saw me and said, hey, come on, come assist everyone here. So I'll answer your questions. Favorite food? Oxtail. Oxtail with rice and peas.
Oxtail. Oh, wow.
Yes.
Interesting. I've never had oxtail before, actually.
Oh my God, you have to have it.
What's it taste? Is it? I'm sure it doesn't taste like chicken, right? Or is it?
No, it's like beef, but you have to get it done the right way. So it has to be like tenderized with browning and gravy, and oh my God, it tastes so good. Like, I'll be in Atlanta for our conference.
Oh.
We're gonna have to find a spot so we could go get you some.
Oh no, that sounds exciting. No, that sounds exciting. I love trying new things, and Atlanta's fun. Though I always love getting barbecue in Atlanta. Though there's this little barbecue place that I go to. You know, one of those hole in the wall, you know, type places. So cool. So favorite food, and then hobby was the last one that we had to come with. And actually, before you do that, we've had a few people ask what your business name and your website. So why don't you say that again, and I will type it in. So it's www.what?
Pythagus. So that's spelled Pythagus.
GUS, and that's .com?
.com, yes.
Okay, and should I give your phone number, or we want them just to go to the website and find your information? Or?
Go to the website and find my information, but I really would prefer to have clients schedule a time to speak with me because, again, when I'm getting the phone calls during the day, I'm working with other clients, it kind of just gets kind of crazy. So I've had to shut my phone off. There is a voice recorded message saying that if you leave a message, I'll respond within 24 hours. But the quickest way to really reach me is either by email, I'll respond. But if there's a conversation going on, I'm going to tell you to schedule a time, or you could just cut to the chase and schedule a time. I have a calendar on my website that schedules up to 15 days in advance. And just keep in mind, it's the holiday season. So there's a couple of days that are completely blocked off because it's Christmas.
No, great. No, that's wonderful. So thank you again, for your generosity. We've got a few questions, and let me just kind of hit a few of the top ones. First things first, for scope purposes and everything like that, we're trying to be more focused in our sessions. And tonight's session is specifically to deal with taxation issues and ramifications that may lead to taxation issues. So I've noticed there have been a few questions like, hey, can you talk about how to transfer funds from point A to point B, or can you talk about listings and all that sort of stuff? That is not in scope for tonight. I apologize. We will discuss that. If you have what I call nuts and bolts types questions, we'll be discussing that tomorrow morning. We have a session at 10 a.m. Central Time. So we will not be answering those questions. Those can be saved for Saturday. And tonight we're just going to kind of talk about taxes. So I actually have a question for you. Let me kind of tell you what happened to me today. And it seemed like a pretty innocent request, but I got to thinking about it more, and I'm like, actually I'm really lucky I'm going to be on a call or a video conference with a smart person tonight, because I just started wondering if things could go wrong. So I've got friends now, and I'm sure we all have friends, right, who are interested in Bitcoin, who like that, and everyone's got that really well-off friend, but a lot of these people like to stay anonymous.
Yes.
So with all this Coinbase stuff and everything, the IRS coming along, people just don't want to buy. So, I had a friend saying, hey, I want to get into this Bitcoin thing or whatever. And, could you just, and, he's really well off. So he's like, yeah, can you just go buy me 100 grand worth of Bitcoin? I'll pay you for it. Let's call it a day. And at first I was like, okay, yeah, let's do that. I'll go and, log into Coinbase, buy 100 grand worth of stuff. And, I was like, I got to charge you. So I'm going to charge you 2%. But I thought that'd be pretty good. Yeah. Because, literally I do nothing, get the thing, download on a hardware wallet, drive over his house and say, hey, here you go, give me 2%, right? 2 grand for basically, being a mail delivery boy. That seems kind of exciting. But I got to thinking about that, just especially with this tax thing coming. I was like, wait, now hold on. What does that mean if I buy the Bitcoin, I put it on the hardware wallet, and then I give it to someone else? Do I have to do a bill of sale on this? Because, Coinbase is going to track me, right? What happens if a year later that Bitcoin, today they're $18,000, and maybe it'll go down, maybe it'll go, but maybe it's worth more. Will I get an auditor or someone saying, hey, remember that 100 grand in Bitcoin you bought? What happened to that? At this point, I'd be like, oh no, I gave it to someone else. Yeah. I mean, what seemed like a pretty simple thing, as I was thinking about this, I was like, well, hold on, what if he's doing it because maybe he's laundering money? You know, and then you hear about these crazy things about what actually got me. I wasn't thinking it was anything, and then someone showed me an article about some lady who, like, the State Department's going after because she, like, sent a Bitcoin to Iran or something like that.
Yeah.
And, you know, they were able to trace it through, you know, the ledger or whatever on that front. And they're actually, like, going after her for, like, money laundering a terrorist organization. So, like, here I am thinking, okay, well, I was just going to do it. You know, friend might be too strong of a word. It's kind of like I know the guy, so it's like an acquaintance type of a thing.
Okay.
But, you know, like, I don't know him that well. You know what I mean? I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he's doing stuff. And if I'm going to go just grab 100 grand worth of Bitcoin and give it to him, he's like, I want you to do this more. If he just wants to try me out, you know, I don't know. I mean, what do I do? I mean, that's kind of, it seems innocent, but, and I bet a lot of people have, like, friends that, you know, maybe they have cash or maybe they don't want to, like, set up with Coinbase. So you might, like, do a favor for them. I mean, am I getting myself into trouble here?
So the Coinbase that you bought the Bitcoin from is registered to you, correct?
The Coinbase, now I have not bought this yet. This was a conversation.
Okay, gotcha.
That came up. So I haven't actually done it. I was, like, all ready to go and stuff like that. And I was going to buy
Glad you
stuff.
Stopped. I'm so glad you stopped.
And then I was just like, hold on. Because what made me think is this is really no different, like me putting it in a hardware wallet and giving it to someone, than like me transferring it over to Binance, which is some like Chinese company, or me going it to, you know, sending it to like some Korean company or some Russian company, right?
Gotcha.
They don't know what happened, and they're not going to be able to audit Binance. Or I don't know. I mean, maybe they can, maybe they can't. I mean, I would think Binance would tell them to go, you know, screw themselves.
Yeah, Binance is China, so they're not within the U.S. jurisdiction, but Coinbase is here. So is Bittrex, so is GDAX, so is Ripple that I just found out about. So they're within the jurisdiction for anything to happen at this point. They're here. So I'm glad you thought about that and you didn't make another move, because at some point the Coinbase is going to be set up by, I would assume, for you to go ahead and buy or make the purchase. If, you know, you'd need to set up your ID, you'd need to verify who you are and everything else like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's already set up. So I have my Coinbase stuff. And right now my Coinbase stuff is essentially my own stuff, other than like I've given like a Bitcoin to my daughter or something like that.
Gotcha.
You know, so she could learn this stuff. But it's all me. I've never actually bought Bitcoin and like handed it to someone else.
So,
and if I do it through Coinbase, I mean, I guess my other idea was I would go wire money to Binance, but it seems kind of sketchy to like wire a bunch of money to China. I mean, they seem okay. Actually, I know the Binance guy, so like it just seems weird. But like, what do I do? I mean, like, because I have Coinbase will know that I bought the Bitcoin.
Yes.
Or the multitude, like whether it's $1,000 or 10,000 or whatever the number is. I bought the Bitcoin, and then I transfer that Bitcoin away. Whether, you know, it goes to that magical, you know, BTC address in the ether. So now what? You see what I mean? And what do I have to do on that front?
Well, see, oh gosh, this is actually a situation that I have not heard of before. So just giving my professional advice. Mm-hmm. When you buy coins on...
And real quick, just for, you know, clarification purposes, you know, I'm sure there's like a disclaimer or something like that. You know, I'm okay, but let's like just state it out there. You know, this is not tax or legal advice, all blah, blah, blah. You know, I don't know, whatever you want to do that, you know, because the last thing we need, you know, is someone listening to this and saying, oh, Rebecca said this, and so I just did this, and, you know, I got in trouble. Yeah. So why don't we give that disclaimer first? I don't know.
So I am licensed to give tax advice. I am going to, in this instance where we're talking, I'm going to tell you what I think as a professional, but this is not professional tax advice for someone to go do. I'm not here telling someone to circumnavigate, you know, all sorts of ways to try to get done what they're trying to do without, you know, the wallets finding out, the IRS finding out, or anything else like that. I'm just giving my professional opinion on what I think about it. So there we go.
Correct. So I just wanted to say it out again. You know, we're very fortunate that Rebecca is willing to donate her time and expertise to, you know, share her knowledge. But we also want to be mindful that, you know, this is not tax advice. You know, maybe you can learn from it, but you really need to, either call Rebecca by contacting an appointment, or find the CPA that you work with, or find another local professional who can assist you, if you really need that sort of help. So disclaimers out of the way, we just got to cross our T's, dot our I's, okay, what do I do? Like, do I do it? Do I not do it?
I say don't do it, just because of the simple fact, like you said, you don't know what this person's doing once they take the coins and it's on a cold wallet. They could be transferring it to someone else. It could be used to fund terrorism. It could be used to fund, any type of legal activity. And, everyone thinks that Bitcoin is anonymous. It's not as anonymous as we think. You may not know exactly who the person is, but again, there is a general ledger of transactions taking place. And I don't know how far the IRS can go, but I'm pretty sure they can go quite far if they need to investigate someone. I've heard of stories where the IRS is picking up someone in another country for tax evasion. So as far as I'm concerned, I wouldn't even go there. If you're not in control of the coins, if you're not in control of the money, I mean, yeah, it's great, but $2,000 really isn't worth your freedom. $2,000 isn't worth getting caught up in anything illegal. Like, it's just not worth it.
So how does that work? I mean, I guess, in this case, I'm running an errand for someone versus me buying something with a Bitcoin. Like, let's say I take that $100,000 in Bitcoin and I use it to buy a condo. And I'm not saying I would or anything, but let's say I did that, how far does my potential liability chain go, if that makes any sense? Do you see what I mean? Because like, if I had cash, I guess, and again, I'm not an expert, like what becomes money laundering, right? Versus me getting a suitcase of cash and giving it to someone to go like, fund some nefarious thing, versus me just using that cash to go buy a car or buy a computer or buy,
Well, I would think in that instance where if you're taking Bitcoin to buy a car or Bitcoin to buy a house, I mean, everything is still tied back to you. It's your money. You're in control of it. You're choosing what to purchase it on. Whereas if you're taking a coin and putting it on a cold wallet and handing it over to someone else, you have no idea what has happened. The second you hand over that cold wallet, all bets are off. And again, if the US government, whoever is looking for a particular person and they can't find them, well, they're going to go to the next person and see if you'll squeal. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So I would say if a client came up to me and said, hey, Rebecca, this is what I was thinking about doing, I would say, no, do what you want. However, my professional advice is just don't do that unless you are fully trusting that the person's not going to do anything nefarious, or you have some sort of control over the coin somehow. It just doesn't make sense to risk yourself and put it on you if something ends up happening downstream. You don't want them coming back trying to look for someone to pin it on.
No, which makes sense. So now let's use the example of, let's say I was buying a Bitcoin for my grandma.
Gotcha.
Or my kids or something like that, right? So
yes.
Now we've got non-nefarious means, but just a family member or just a friend that like gets complicated with computers, and you just, people are talking about gifting things, right? So I could put it in the hardware wallet and, maybe not, I wouldn't give a gift Bitcoin for a Christmas present, but maybe like a Litecoin or something like that, right?
Gotcha. Yep.
Something a little more reasonable. So do I need to track that or know that I gave it? Because like I could it's like giving, $100 for someone for Christmas, right? It's like a gift card, I feel.
You're absolutely
I could give, my Litecoin to my girlfriend, I don't know. And then if she takes it and spends it on candy or whatever she spends it on, what do we do? So like, from your perspective, on the Coinbase side, like how much do I track? How much do I not track? Do I keep a record of this or do I not? Yeah. What's your opinion on all that, I guess?
Okay, so you can donate Bitcoin. You can gift Bitcoin, any other coins, however you feel. There is the gift tax. Most people don't know about the gift tax, but the IRS has a gift tax where you can give a person. So if you want to give your child up to $14,000, it's tax-free. Awesome. You can gift away $14,000 to your child. if you were married, your wife can also gift $14,000 to your child, and that's not taxed. When we get over that, we actually have to fill out a gift tax form. And hi, you there?
Oh, yeah, no, I'm still here. I'm just
great.
muting because there's a little bit of background noise. Sorry.
Okay, gotcha. No wonder. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. So we have to fill out a gift tax form if you give more money than that, because obviously the IRS, that's their internal revenue code, that if you give someone more than $14,000, we have to fill out a form, and there's taxes that need to be paid on gifts. So tracking wise, as you were stating before, you would need to know the amount of what you're giving. So what you're giving, you would just need to track that amount. If it's under 14,000, don't worry about it. If you're giving someone a substantial gift, such as a whole Bitcoin, that's when you would probably need to let your tax professional know so they could go ahead and do the appropriate forms for you.
So now the interesting question is, what is my basis? Because is the basis at the time of gifting? Is the basis at the time of purchase?
Okay.
Right? Because maybe I bought the Bitcoin for $100, but now the Bitcoin is worth, what's it, $18,000 now or something, you know?
Exactly. When you gift someone a gift, the basis is actually your basis. So if you bought it at 0 and you decide to gift it to someone, their basis is also 0. They don't get the step up in basis. The step up normally happens, say you pass on, sadly, and your Bitcoin goes to your children. They would receive the step up in basis, so they're not taxed on the gains that has been received since you bought the coin.
Okay, no, that's interesting. So now let's go to some questions and stuff like that. You know, I'll just start from the top, you know. From your opinion, you know, what is the best way to document transactions, and which ones do we need to document for tax purposes?
Okay, so I had a phone call about this earlier today. In my opinion, you need to track when you buy the coin. We need to know the date, the time, the amount, the fees, which are very important. I know there's been a lot of complaints regarding fees, but fees actually help you with your basis. So we need to know how much you paid. And that's it. That's for your purposes, your accountant's purposes. But the actual reporting piece comes in when you convert the cryptocurrency to cash or convert the cryptocurrency to another coin. So for example, if I buy Bitcoin at $100, I was lucky. I was one of the early people that got in, and I bought 10 coins at $100 each. All right. That's my basis, my plus the fees, you know, everything else. So now Bitcoin's gone up, 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 up. And now it's at 18,000 a coin. I decide I want to cash out one of those coins. The second I cash out one of those coins, it's a taxable event. And I now need to take note of that transaction, the date, the time, how much I received, any of the fees, everything else. That's a taxable event. That needs to go to my accountant, or if you do your taxes yourself, you need to make note of that for yourself. If I decide to take another coin and go transfer it to one of the other wallets, Binance, to then buy Stella, that's now a taxable event. And I know that I've literally gotten argued to death about this week. I'm not receiving any money. I'm transferring coin to coin. Why is it taxable? Currently, under IRS Notice 2014-21, it's a taxable event. Could this change later on? Yes. But as of right now, it's a taxable event when you change one form of crypto to another form of crypto. So if you're going from Bitcoin to Litecoin and there is a gain, by the current standards or the current IRS position, it is taxable. So those are the two things. I mean, there's more, but these are the main two ones that I'm getting a lot of questions about.
Wow. So now in terms of tracking, I mean, the reality of breaking these Bitcoins up, there's lots of micro trades, right? Every time, I mean, in any situation, if I'm going to buy an alt, I'm always probably going to buy Bitcoin first.
Yes.
Transfer it to Binance, and then, you know, switch my Bitcoin into the alt. So every one of those transactions, I guess, I track, or so I have to know what my I guess, see, here's the complicated thing. I mean, I don't really track my basis price. I mean, the way I track my portfolio, and I don't know if this is the right or wrong way, but the way I do it is every month I put in X dollars and I keep it there. And then, you know, by month end, or usually it's 45 days because things drag, 45 days into it, I take everything in there and pull it out and put it into cold storage off the exchanges. You know, that's kind of like how I do it. So like, I know like, you know, like I've got these things in like 10 gram buckets. I'm not saying that's the right way of doing it, but that's just kind of how I think. So I know that like this grouping, you know, sorry, there's a little background noise. I know that this grouping is worth, you know, it was 10 grand at the beginning of the month, and now that basis is like 25,000. That's just how I've done it. So I know, and then I know like a net gross amount, so I know like how things are going. That's just how I do it. Now what you're saying though is, like in doing that, I actually lose track of what my basis is. Like I have no idea, because like I knew I bought this stuff for this much, and I know it's worth this much, but there might have been 3 transactions to get there. You know what I mean?
No, I totally get what you're saying. So let me clarify one thing. If you have Bitcoin and you transfer it to a cold wallet where it's staying there, it's still in its original form. It's still Bitcoin. You didn't trade it. You didn't convert it to another currency. You didn't cash out. So at that point, that's what it is. It's just in a cold wallet. It's appreciating in the cold wallet, or it's depreciating in the cold wallet, whatever's going on with the market. However, when you have transactions for cryptocurrency and you're buying a new altcoin or you're cashing out, that's when the taxable event could occur. And again, we don't know. So for example, you know, Litecoin's been going down. If you cashed out when it was 360, 370, you would have a gain. If you bought in at 350 and now it's, you know, what is it, 302 or something like that, the last I checked, you're going to have a loss there. So that is not a taxable event. You would report the loss on your taxes, or you would actually take the net of your gains and the net of your losses, and whatever's left, we'll figure it out. But that's also reportable, your gains and your losses.
Okay, so let's like dive into this a little more. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show my GDAX, because I think it's easy to talk high level. But it's the details that kill everybody, right? So, like, this is actually kind of freaking me out, because if I look at my buy, like, for whatever reason, I had $1,000 sitting in GDAX.
Yes.
And then, let me actually just run back to Coinbase, because I bought some other stuff for other reasons on that. So hold on, let me get this signed in real quick.
While you're doing that,
yeah, why don't you answer one of the next questions we have? Why don't you just pick one of the questions and answer them while I get this stuff set up.
Okay, Cherie said, how do I present my trading info to my CPA? Do I give all of them my trades in BTC and how I exchange from BTC for Ripple, for example? And how does my CPA know the value of BTC at the time of purchase? Does he need that info? So Cherie, yes, your CPA will need the info. We need to establish your basis. So we'll need to know how much you bought the Bitcoin for, the date, the time. I pretty much went over this, but I just want to make sure for anyone coming in late, we need to establish the basis. And how you do that, we take the transaction amount, the date, the time, how much it was for, you know, what it is. So it's, in this case, is Bitcoin. And that's your starting point. So from there, your next transaction is what determines if it's a gain or a loss. So for example, if you bought Bitcoin at $100 and you decide to cash out, and you're cashing out when Bitcoin is worth $97, you have a $3 net loss. I'm just being very high level about this because it can, you know, when we're talking about the details and the fees and everything else, there's a lot of math that goes into this. Or the opposite could be said if there's a gain. You bought Bitcoin at 100, you cash out at 105, $5 taxable capital tax gain. But also at the same time, what I really want to drive home is that if you are switching from currency to another, from a cryptocurrency to another cryptocurrency, from Bitcoin to another altcoin, if there is a gain that you have at the time of the conversion, that is now a taxable event.
I'm now looking at my screen and I literally just like feel like I'm dying. I'm gonna die. Because like I looked just today alone, I had 2 friends sign up for Coinbase, so I got, you know, the Coinbase affiliate stuff. But they're at different, like these happened at different times. So one came in at like, you know, this and that.
Yes.
Then I bought some Bitcoin today and I transferred over to GDAX. And then in GDAX, when I bought, it looks like it bought around the same time, but it like broke it up into 4 different lots.
Interesting.
And now what's happened is I just have, you know, it's not even that much. I just have like half a Bitcoin sitting there. But there's like 7 different sources that went into this Bitcoin. And there's probably each of those 7 different sources has like a slightly different price.
I agree. So one thing I'll say here is that I looked up Coinbase to find out if they provide tax forms, and I found out that they do provide some sort of documentation for your tax professional. Now, I actually have yet to see one, but the simple fact that they provide one is going to be so much help, because that is going to establish your basis. That is going to tell us when transactions occurred. If you sent it to another wallet, such as Binance, for example, obviously whatever happens in Binance, I'm not sure if Binance provides tax forms. That's one area that you'll need to keep track of, either on an Excel spreadsheet or I use Blockfolio, which is an app. Every time I buy something, I record the transaction. So it's right there and I have it. So Excel spreadsheet, any of the crypto apps that are out there for tracking purposes. There's also, there's actually, believe it or not, accounting software for Bitcoin. I have yet to purchase it because it's ridiculously high. I think it's like $2.99 or $3.99 a month or something like that. And I don't have enough clients yet that's going to justify. But once I have enough clients, coming through my door, that's something that I'm going to get so that I can help my clients easily track this. But yeah, there's a couple of different ways. And hey, what I also tell people, print out the transactions if you can. Every time you make a transaction, just print it out and just have stacks of paper. I know it's kind of crazy, but this is kind of like going back to the beginnings of you know, back in the day before we had all this technology. This is kind of like the beginning of that, because this is new. So the software is not out yet to really start helping mass folks. Any software developers online, that may be something you want to look into, developing something for people to keep track of their things. But yeah, so print them out. If you can't print them out, do a screenshot. Have like a folder of screenshots, you know, black out. I don't think it puts the address on there, but if it does, black out the address, whatever you need to do to keep it secure, but just have the general information, when the transaction took place, the amount, the value, the fees, and that's going to really help tremendously for tax time.
Wow. So now it really, so I need to have my starting point in Coinbase, and now let me go to Binance. It seems like after I get my starting point in Coinbase and I transfer my stuff over to Binance, let me show my Binance screen. I happen to be one of those lucky verified people, so that's kind of exciting. But on the Binance side, what you're saying is I actually have to go to like my order history.
Yes. And I actually have Binance, so I have looked at it too, but I've only done like one transaction, so I haven't. Yeah, and this is great. So if you see, there's the date. This is the pairing. What did you do with it? Bitcoin to gas, Bitcoin to salt, Bitcoin to neo. What did you do? You buy, sell. And it's telling you the price and how much was filled. And there should be a fee. Do they charge fees on there?
excuse me, Binance has this thing, if you buy like the Binance token, you actually get a significant discount on the fees, but I think it goofs other things up.
Gotcha. Maybe it's in detail. I don't want you to hit detail because I don't know what's in there, but I am looking. I mean, I guess we could also like take the difference of the price and how much was billed and everything.
There's nothing that exciting here. Yeah, no, there is the fee is
okay,
right there.
There's the fee. Perfect. That's everything that your accountant will need to determine. So you have a list of buys. When we're seeing the Bitcoin to the other alt currencies, that would be considered a taxable event. If there's a gain from the Bitcoin coming from Coinbase to Binance, and then you're buying the new alt currency.
Well, if there's a loss, I still need to record that because my losses would offset my income.
You're absolutely right. The losses offset the gain. So that's also something to keep in mind. So when it's said and done, when you take a look at your losses and compare it to your gains, whatever the net is, the net gain or the net loss, that is what's being reported on your tax return.
So now, logistically speaking, because that seems pretty straightforward, it seems very tedious, but straightforward, but I just thought of a wrinkle. All this is in Bitcoin pricing. It's not in dollar pricing. So now, a year later, I go to you and give you like 2,000 transactions. Do I need to look up what the price of Bitcoin was on 12/14 at 10:22 p.m.? Because it doesn't, right? It doesn't actually tell me how much money I have. It tells me it in like,
Bitcoin. You're right.
I bought a bunch of stuff. Yeah, I bought it in 0.03465440 Bitcoin. But what does 0.03465540 Bitcoin mean? Maybe the Bitcoin was $16,000 a Bitcoin. Maybe it was $17,000 a Bitcoin. Maybe it was 10 grand a Bitcoin. I mean, heck, when I bought this, my Ripple, this was at a price of, my price of Ripple here, geez, this is a nightmare. Okay, my price of Ripple was 0.000031.
Bitcoin.
That's in Bitcoin.
Yep.
But if I multiply 0.00031 times the current price of Bitcoin, which I think is 17,500, that means I paid 54 cents a Ripple. But I didn't because I bought this on November 16th.
Yes.
So to get back to that, I mean, do I go to Coinbase and say, okay, Bitcoin, let's go back to November 16th. And on November 16th, it was $7,500 a Bitcoin.
But that also depends on the transaction time, because there was a time where we had Bitcoin at 19,000 in one day, and then it dropped to 15,000 in the same day.
Yeah, so if I just do that, and let's just assume $7,500, right? That gives me a price of 23 cents a Ripple, which was actually closer. I don't remember what I bought it for.
Yeah.
But that seems a little more reasonable. Maybe it was $7,000 at that time. So I got it for I remember getting into Ripple for 19 cents, a coin or whatever on that front.
Yeah. So what I would do, because here we have the transaction date and time, I would go back and get the exact value at that date and time when the transaction occurred. And the reason why is because, again, we have Bitcoin that was $19,000 one day, $15,000 one day. That's a difference of $4,000. And you want to make sure that you're accounting for it correctly, because it could cost you if you're taking the higher value when you really bought it at the lower value. You want to be as accurate as possible. So that's why those time and date stamps are just really important. Like I said, there are some wallets such as Coinbase that give you the documents that you need. They'll tell you exactly what's on it for you to file your taxes. Awesome. But for anyone that, wants to follow the rules, they may have to just be aware that if they're going outside to a wallet such as Binance, they may not give you forms. And again, I have not checked to see if Binance gives forms. Awesome if they do, but I'm not sure. But just in case if they don't, this is something that you have to keep in mind.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like a nightmare. I mean, geez. No, it does. I mean, because it's one thing, okay, I got the report, but like, how am I going to look up the price of Bitcoin on, you know, the 15th of October at 2:33 p.m., right? I mean, it's like,
No, I
right.
agree with you. And like I said, there are different websites that are out here. It looks like I'm not going to say it's simple. This is a very tedious thing. It's a lot of adding, subtracting, calculating, converting. But for now, this is what we have to do until someone develops something where we can just say, hey, here you go. Use my app to easily convert. Just put this in, everything else, and it comes back out.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm looking at my Bittrex stuff for this month, and this is even uglier. I mean, it tells me I bought some Steam at this, gave me a bunch of units and what my rate is and what my cost is, but it's all in Bitcoin.
Yes.
Oi. Oi.
Well, you're ready, right? This is what we wanted.
Jeez, this is crazy. Well, let's go on to some more questions. I think people now are saying, like, what the heck are we getting into with this crazy stuff? So next question is, what is the best way to track coin purchases and sales for tax purposes? We kind of covered that a bit. You know, do you want to talk about that further? Expand on that at all, Rebecca?
No, we definitely did cover that a bit. Like I said, you could do an Excel spreadsheet for yourself. That's going to get tedious, especially, gosh, day trading. I haven't even gotten into that yet. That's going to be very interesting. But Excel, put it on Excel, track it that way. Screenshot your transaction receipts after you make the purchases. If you can, print them out, even better. There are a couple of websites that offer some tracking purposes. I have not used them as of yet. Right now I'm looking at bitcoin.tax. But anything that you can do to help your accountant figure out your basis, your gains, or your basis and your loss, that's just going to help you out in the end.
Wow. Well, I think actually the problem really only comes into play if I'm trying to get long-term versus short-term capital gains, I feel. I wonder if I just trade a lot and everything is short-term capital gains, couldn't I just say, like, hey, I started with 10 grand and now I got 30 grand and the delta of my capital gains is the difference between A and B?
Yeah, I mean, you can do that. But again, we're talking about how many transactions here over a day. I mean, I remember someone posting on the forum, I believe she said she did like over 20 transactions every single day. She sets her buys in the morning and her sells at night.
Yeah.
So it's like she's continuously doing this. And if she's not keeping track, then now we're going to have to rely on all of the history within, whichever wallet that she's using to go ahead and try to figure all this out. I mean, you can, more or less, you can take the delta, that's the point, but we want to make sure that we have the adjusted basis so we know what we're starting from and what we're ending with to really let you know, is there a gain? Is it a loss? Is it a taxable event? What do we need to do on your tax return? And this is daily, so I can only imagine, in 10 days, she's done 200 transactions. So this is just, yeah.
Wow. Okay, well, moving on, we have a question. Are you familiar with overseas contractor tax laws?
So I am. You have to be, that's something that the person could probably contact me directly. But yes, I am familiar with overseas tax laws. If you are out of the US for a certain amount of time, your taxes are reduced or non-existent, but that is something that you can contact me about and we could discuss your personal situation offline.
Okay, not a problem. And then I had another question. Can you file taxes for a client in New York City, for example?
Yes, so I have my business set up to be remote. I can handle clients in the local area, or if someone wants to do business with me, I have a client portal where the client can upload their documents and we'll be able to trade the information back and forth. So for example, they'll upload their tax documents to me and I do their taxes on my end. I contact them, say, hey, we need to set up an appointment for us to talk. I've done your taxes. Let me tell you the results, everything else. Then I can upload their tax forms back to them so they could take a look at it. But yes, I am able to do taxes for someone in other states or other locations other than the DMV.
Okay. Someone made a comment saying that, purchasing under 10 grand at a Bitcoin ATM does not trigger the AML flag. So good to know. One person saying, or two questions. I think we've kind of covered it, but let me just ask again. So when we purchase Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Litecoin to get our altcoins, will we have to pay capital gains taxes on either one, the price variation between Bitcoin purchase price and the Bitcoin exchange price, and then the sale of the Bitcoin to acquire altcoins?
Okay, I think I understand the question. So let me just go ahead and repeat what I've said before. If you have the documentation, if you have the transaction that shows the date, time, amount, when the transaction was done, okay? That's establishing the basis. Then when you transfer it to finance, again, if it stays from Bitcoin to Bitcoin, there's no taxable event. If there's a gain, there's no taxable event because it has not been converted. But the second it's changed into other property, that's what Bitcoin is. That's what the altcoins are. They're considered property. As soon as that one property is converted to another property, if there's a gain, at that time, we'll have to do the conversion to figure out the amount, but that's taxable. Do you think that's answering the question? Because I want to make sure I'm understanding it correctly.
Yeah, I think we're doing as good of a job as it is. And, right now we have over 60 more queued questions. So I'm sure they'll come back again if they want to ask it from another angle. Moving on, I have a question about buying crypto coins from companies that specialize in gambling. Will this be treated as an average crypto trade, or will there be an issue because the company is involved in gambling?
That's interesting. So I'll tell you this. The IRS does not care if the money you make is legal or illegal. They want you to pay taxes on it. So for example, if you have an illegal drug business and you are smuggling cocaine and you're selling cocaine or whatever, the IRS finds out, they can actually do your tax return for you and they'll credit you the cost of the cocaine, but they'll pretty much do your taxes for you and say, hey, you haven't paid us X amount of dollars in taxes for your illegal cocaine business or whatever. So I'm going to take the position on that no, it doesn't matter what's going on that end. It's more that if you're receiving a gain, if you're receiving more than what you put in, make sure that's reported, make sure you're taxed on that. Just make sure that you disclose that.
Cool. So maybe one way of doing it, just to keep it simple, is you look at your portfolio value as of January 1, and you look at your portfolio value as of December 31st. And if you did a bunch of trading in between, you just say, well, I started with 10,000 bucks. I have 50 grand and the difference is 40,000. And I just pay, short term.
I see what you're saying. Huh. That's interesting. I see what you're saying.
Now if I'm a long-term person, I want to, or, just so people know, what's the difference in tax rate right now between, short-term capital gains and long-term capital gains? Like, what is quote unquote at risk?
Okay. So short-term capital gains is quite high. If you actually give me a second, short-term tax rate. Short-term capital gains could be as high as 25%, whereas if you're long-term, it could be 10 to even 0, depending on what it is. So that's why I tell people a lot of times you want to hold your investments, because the longer you hold it, you'll receive a favorable tax benefit versus if you're short-term day trading, you're going to be taxed at a higher rate.
Okay, so it really boils down, we're talking about, now is short-term like ordinary income, or does short-term have its own short-term brackets?
No, short-term is capital gain, so it's not ordinary income. It's not ordinary income at all.
Okay. So I guess it boils down to, as a trader, if you're making, more to cover than your 15% delta between short-term and long-term of 10%, then you're fine. You just got to factor that into your cost of doing business.
Yes.
Here's a question. At what point do you actually get taxed on the crypto side?
So at the time when you file your tax return, that's when you get taxed on the crypto. So if you have let's go further. If you have a short-term gain and it's a net gain, you're going to file it on your income tax return. And at that point, it's calculated into your taxes owed. And depending on anything else that you're doing, if you're working, if you are, if you have other investments, all of that will be calculated into your final tax bill.
Cool. So moving on, someone asked if we're taxed only when coins are converted back into USD, and I think we answered that question, so we can move on that one. Hold on, let's keep going. So I've read about how the IRS classifies cryptocurrencies. I'm wondering two things. One, I currently own Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum, but have not yet traded Bitcoin for any other altcoins. If I don't purchase any altcoins until 2018, do I have to claim any capital gains for 2017? And two, if when I do begin trading, what should I be mindful of in terms of capital gains taxes when trading at higher volumes?
Okay, I'm looking at this question right now to make sure I understand it right. So I currently own Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum, but I have not traded any Bitcoin. Okay, so you do not have to claim any capital gains for 2017 because, again, the coins have not been converted. They have not been cashed out and you haven't received the gain, or you have not converted it into another altcoin. When you begin trading in 2018, now, when we say trading, are you talking about day trading, or you're just saying, let me convert it?
Let's start with let's convert it, because I think, generally speaking, I'm not saying day trading isn't an important thing, but I'm going to assume most of this audience is less day traders and more kind of fundamental research.
Gotcha.
Kind of like the way that, we preach. So let's just assume that, and I'm sure a few day traders will pop in and say, no, that's not the case. Okay. For purposes of this question and the other 78 that we got to get to.
Gotcha. Yeah. So for this question, what you want to be mindful about is, again, making sure you have the transactions recorded, whether you're recording them yourself, whether you're taking screenshots or anything else. Keep in mind how long you want to hold the coin for. I'm not sure, Jarvis gives recommendations on when to sell coins after something, is going great, and then, now we're going to sell something because we're going to take profits on it. That's something you want to be mindful about as well. I'm not saying not to sell the coin. This is your choice. However, just keep in mind how long you've held the coin for and making sure that you have the appropriate documentation, dates, times, amounts, everything else that we'll need to establish that basis and whether or not there's a gain or not.
Okay, moving on. Do you have to fill out something on your taxes if you gift to your child and or grandchild?
Yes, you do have to fill out what's called a gift tax form. It's called Form 709. And again, it's for gifting over $14,000. You'll tell your CPA or you'll do it yourself, but anything over $14,000, you'll fill out a gift tax form for a 709.
Okay, we have another question. To repeat the IRS notice number,
sure.
You had mentioned that IRS notice or something on that front.
Okay, so it's IRS notice 2014-21.
Okay, let me just type it in on this. So it's IRS notice number, what was it?
2014-21.
-21. There you go. Okay. So if you trade and there's a loss, is that a taxable event that will help us? And I think we answered that. That answer is yes, right, Rebecca?
Yes.
Yes, it is. So,
well, you report the loss, and again, we're doing the net gains, we're doing the net losses. So you add your losses to your gains, find out what the net is. If it's a net loss, you report it as a loss. If it's a net gain, that's a taxable event, or you'll pay taxes on it.
Yeah, so moving on, is there a website where we can get written documentation? We earlier in the session went through kind of the trading history reports on Bittrex and Binance, so that's really where you'd go download the stuff. And that's the same question to the next one, are exchanges tracking and reporting the info? I don't think exchanges are tracking and reporting the info to the IRS right now. I don't know if you've got an opinion. I guess that's a good question, right? If I send stuff to Binance, hypothetically, I mean, what are they going to do?
Well, Binance isn't within the U.S. jurisdiction. However, we have to remember that Coinbase is, Bittrex is, Ripple is. I mean, Ripple's not really a wallet though, but these companies are located here in the U.S. So, so for example, Coinbase was ordered to hand over information on customers that have made over $20,000. So, they've had to do that. They fought it, didn't go through. So now they're doing that. They're giving the IRS the information that they requested. So you just got to be mindful of that.
That makes sense. So, but that becomes interesting because if I have my Bitcoin and I send my Bitcoin to Binance, I mean, there's obviously, I don't want to lie, but hypothetically, I can conveniently, summarize perhaps or something like that, if the stuff's in Binance, right? Because it's a little bit of an honor system, with the IRS.
It is, but I don't know who's going to be audited, and at any point in time, you could be audited, and at that time, you will have to support what you've written on or what you've reported on your tax return with documents. So if the IRS says, "Hey, I want to see all of the transactions and understand how you came to your figures," if you cannot report that, they can disallow what you've reported, and then your tax goes up. So you're absolutely right. It is an honor system, but you just want to also think at the end of the day, if someone comes knocking on my door or someone sends me an email or a letter saying that they want me to come down to their office, are you able to pick up all your documentation and say, here, this is how I came to what my figures are? If you're not able to do that, you got to be prepared for the consequences, really.
Alrighty. How do you categorize fees?
They are added to the basis of the coin. So for example, if you bought $250 worth of Bitcoin and you have $10 in fees, they're added to the basis. So it actually helps you when we're determining the gain. So you could really call it like $260, and we're going to be taking the gain difference from there.
Okay, the cost basis. Does it have to be consistent year after year, or can you switch year after year?
I think they're talking in regards to LIFO, FIFO, and I'm sorry. I think they're talking about that. So LIFO is last in, first out. And FIFO is first in, first out. And I would say for the matter of reporting taxes, it does need to be consistent, because if you're switching from year to year, so for example, first in, first out means I bought 100 Bitcoin in April. Then I bought 120 Bitcoin in May. And then I bought 300 Bitcoin in June. So if I decide I want to convert my cryptocurrency to another altcoin, we're going to take the first set of Bitcoin I bought, sell it to buy the new alt currency, and then we'll have to determine what the gains are from there, or if there's any losses. That usually yields in a higher tax. Now, last in, first out, LIFO, means instead of going with the April, we're going with the June. we're going with the last month or the last set purchased, and that set purchase is now being converted to the new altcoin. So that using a lower tax amount. So just to answer the question, stay consistent. It makes sense to stay consistent because if you're switching year to year, again, you don't ever want to be audited and someone's taking a look at it and it's like, okay, what are you doing here? What's going on?
Okay, now to clarify, so I am only taxed if I cash out to USD. Am I taxed on a gain in the Bitcoin or the altcoin? Let me try this because I'm trying to like suck in all your information. The tax occurs at any sort of transaction. So it doesn't matter if I transact from Bitcoin to cash, Bitcoin to Ripple, Bitcoin to anything. Every time you kind of change mediums of the coin,
yes,
that's where a taxable event would occur if there was a gain,
yes,
or a taxable event or a rebate event or whatever if there was a loss. Is that
yes,
correct?
Yes.
Cool. So now we're getting, people are starting to give you scenarios. So we're going to throw you some scenarios, Rebecca. Say I buy $500 worth of Bitcoin. It goes up to $700 in Coinbase. I later transfer, oh wait, hold on. I later transfer the original 500 to Bittrex to buy 500 of an altcoin. Since it's still the same original 500, is that a taxable event? Or only if I tap into the $200 of gain? So I think first we have to clarify this statement. So let me re-ask the question, because that doesn't make any sense. Or that statement could be read two different ways. So let me just give you an example just to make it simple, right?
Okay.
So say I buy $500 in Bitcoin, it goes up to $700 in Coinbase. I later now transfer my $700 worth of Bitcoin into Bittrex, and I use that to buy $700 worth of Ripple. What is my taxable gain, if any?
Okay, so we're talking about the whole entire 700 going over to buy the new altcoin.
Yes.
Okay, so the whole entire thing would be the taxable event. You'd be taxed on the 200 gains. But again, when I'm saying you're taxed on the 200 of gains, we have to take into account all of your transactions. So if there's other transactions that have a loss, we're going to add those to the gains, and whatever the net is, that's it. But yes, is it a taxable event? Yes, it will be the 200. Now,
and to clarify, if I only spent half of that to buy Ripple and kept the other half for Bitcoin, I would only be taxed on the half. So I'd only be taxed on 100 in gains.
Yeah, you would be taxed on a partial gain of an undivided base asset. It's just basically saying you would be there's a partial of the gain that would be taxed for you cashing out a portion of it. You're cashing out the portion, meaning you're selling it to buy the new altcoin.
Cool. Here's an interesting one. Is there any advantage investing money from my 1099 self-employed income over my W-2 income? Can I somehow deduct the money if I use my 1099, or is this a long shot?
The advantage of investing money from your 1099.
1099
no.
would be from your business side. Is there any benefit of that?
Yeah, so I've been a 1099 for definitely this year, the entire year. And I've done 1099 in the past. When you get 1099, that's it. You are now, you're marking that on your tax return. You're taxed on the 1099. So the money that you received after that, just because you invest it, doesn't mean like it's sheltering the money to not be taxed from Bitcoin. Like, no. Yeah, I'm gonna say it's a long shot.
Yeah, I think, I might say, and again, I'm not the tax professional here, but I might say there could be a short-term benefit because as a 1099, you have the option of deferring certain taxes, right? Versus having the employer side taken all out, right? So if I pay you as a 1099,
yes,
I pay you $1,000. While if I'm an employee and I get paid $1,000, I really only get like $800 or something like that. But that could be risky because I guess if you have a bigger amount and you increase it, you have a bigger increase all around. So there's some gain, but if it decreases, then you're kind of screwed because you haven't covered your taxes yet or anything either.
Okay, let's go over this question again. I want to make sure I'm understanding that correct. Is there any advantage investing money from my 1099 self-employed income over my W-2 income at the end of the day? Can I somehow deduct the money if I use my 1099 money? I don't see how, because, you know, we could talk about, like, you know, retirement vehicles where you can send your money to. Now, I know that this is new. There is, what do you call them? Bitcoin IRAs. This is new. So maybe if we're going in the Bitcoin IRA, but as of right now, like, once you've been paid from your employer, I'm talking about cash, not in Bitcoin. Once you've been paid from your employer, that money is now separate and you're taking that money to invest in Bitcoin. I am not seeing how we can deduct this. It's just like if you pulled out your money from your bank account and bought Bitcoin. Like, you've been paid from your employer on your 1099, will be, you know, reporting your 1099 income and calculating your taxes, your self-employment taxes and everything else. But after that, the money is yours. Now, if we're talking about an IRA or something of that sort, that's another area. But again, the Bitcoin IRAs are really new. And I was just in a webinar yesterday that mentioned them. But I'm now having to go in and really understand the Bitcoin IRA, who's offering them, what do you need to get started? I'm just now learning this myself.
Well, let's actually talk about that for a second. Sure. And I mean, we're all understanding that, you know, we're literally breaking new ground here. So I don't think anyone, well, hopefully no one's going to hold you to it and say, oh, Rebecca said this and she didn't know, you know. Okay. but let's just talk about this, right? I think for people, I mean, the concept of the IRA is really exciting for many people, right? Because yes, A, there's some type of tax deferral. So I get, quote unquote, you know, more money for my dollar, especially if I'm a W-2 instead of a 1099. And then B, in the event that I'm at an employer that offers a match, I get, you know, twice the mileage on my dollar. So if I have an IRA, or, you know, whether it's Roth or a traditional one, can I use it to invest it into cryptocurrency, or what do I have to do to use my IRA? And if I do that, what ramifications are there for doing that?
Okay, so that's a totally new question. For you to be able to use your IRA, you would essentially need to cash it out. And at this point, you're going to be facing some tax consequences, because obviously, if you haven't hit certain milestones, such as 59 and a half, you're going to be subject to penalties and you're going to be subject to taxes. So I'm going to be honest with you. As a professional, I really wouldn't advise that. I see the desire. I see why everyone would want to. I have available money sitting here. I really want to go put it in Bitcoin because this is amazing and it's, you know, it's raising through the roof. I want to make sure I get my piece in and take on the gains, but I just cannot justify the penalty of cashing out an IRA for this.
Now, what about this Bitcoin IRA thing you were talking about? Are people building IRA products for Bitcoin, or is there, like, I don't know this world as much as you probably do. Or...
Yeah, and like I said, I am just now finding out. I went to a crypto taxes like a webinar yesterday that's taught by another cryptocurrency tax accountant. I'm going to make sure I have my information straight, see if I learned anything new, see if anything has changed. And I did find out that there are Bitcoin IRAs. Now, I'm still learning about them, but, you know, the number one thing for anyone that's even considering this, make sure that they are IRS compliant. The last thing you want to do is cash out a legitimate IRA that you have to then invest in someone's Bitcoin IRA. And then you're finding out that the IRS is not going to, you know, honor this, or it's not compliant to the IRS or anything else like that. So if you're looking into it, if you want to cash that out, I think it goes against my personal opinion on what you should do, but that is your choice. Just make sure you have your I's dotted and your T's crossed on it.
Now, I've heard of stuff, and again, I'm not an expert, and nor do I'm not even close to an expert, but I heard of someone saying that you can get a loan against your IRA. So this person got a loan against their IRA and then use that to invest, into Bitcoin or something on that. So like apparently what an IRA loan doesn't penalize it because your IRA is still there. Is that legitimate or is that just I mean, notwithstanding with the loan, you're going to have some interest rate, which is there, but maybe that interest rate is better than, the penalty for cashing out.
Yes. And you're absolutely right about that. Again, this really comes back to the person, their risk tolerance. I mean, the last thing I would want to see someone do is take out a Bitcoin take out a loan against their IRA, buy any type of cryptocurrency, and then for whatever reason, the next day, everything goes to zero. And now you have a loan you need to pay back with interest, and you didn't get any return on your investment in the first place. So, as a professional, I really would advise against that. However, as long as the person is very, they do their research, they're knowledgeable, they're educated, they say, yep, this is a risk I want to take. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm not saying that's a good thing, but versus like people mortgaging their houses to go buy Bitcoin or getting credit cards to get it.
I mean, heard about that.
An IRA is going to be better. I mean, obviously free cash is always the best, but everyone's got their thing, and maybe it's not take the loan against the whole IRA, maybe take a loan against 5% of my IRA.
Yeah, and like I said, this is definitely their choice. Would I do it? No. I mean, I have a TSP account right now. The money's just sitting there. I can't touch it until I retire. Could I take a loan out against it? I don't even know. But I don't think I'd want to. Just again, this all is so speculative. The cryptocurrencies are very speculative. And if the market tanks tomorrow and Bitcoin is gone, we can't predict what's going to happen in the future. So do you really want to take that risk? You really have to determine what risk you want to take. Great.
Moving on. We have someone said you've already got one client, me. So congratulations, Rebecca. You've got another client today.
Oh, thank you.
So that should be great. One quick thing, this is a housekeeping thing. Daniel Rickards said you paid for the Digital Underground, but you also bought the Cryptocurrency 101 class by mistake and then realized it was included. Yeah, just email support@theblackbusinessschool.com and they will take care and refund that class on that front. Moving on. Well, this is an interesting one. It seems like there might be some people that have an existing CPA but doesn't have a CPA that understand the ins and outs of cryptocurrency, right? So maybe I've got a business with a CPA and the CPA also does my other taxes and stuff like that. Do you offer like crypto only type of a service that another CPA could use, or is that even advisable?
Okay, so what I've found is that talking to my peers, I'm seeing that there are a lot of tax professionals that are now jumping into this and they're wanting to learn about it as well so that they can assist their clients if their clients have crypto. There have been some other tax professionals that are like, no, I don't even want to go near this because this is too confusing, or they think Bitcoin is a scam, or they think anything of the like. So will it take a CPA specialized in altcoin knowledge? This is your choice. Now, me, I invest. I have about 7 different coins. I'm on about 4 exchanges. If I were not a CPA and I wanted to do my taxes, I would want to go with a CPA or an enrolled agent who knows what cryptocurrency is, the different wallets, how the transactions go down. I want them to be familiar. The reason why is, how am I going to explain to a CPA when there's a Bitcoin fork, for example, if they're not familiar with this? And again, the exchanges as of right now, for the majority of them, they may not be handing out tax forms. So now your CPA is pretty much relying on you to provide them the information. And if they don't understand what's a Bitcoin from a Litecoin, now you kind of got to explain it to them. So this is going to come down to personal decision, because I know that, you know, when some people do business with a CPA, with a lawyer, with a doctor for a very long time, they're going to be very hesitant to leave. But also at the same time, do you feel confident in that person to make sure they can handle your affairs correctly? Or at the very least, do you feel confident in that person that they'll be able to represent you just in case if you get audited, just in case if the IRS knocks on your door?
So how does this work for someone who mines their currency with mining hardware?
Okay, so right now, mining is considered like a Schedule C, which is a business. So, you know, you're able to take certain deductions, such as the cost of your equipment, and deduct it from what you've received. I've been doing some reading, and I think at some point it may happen that mining is passive. Reason why? You're pretty much not doing anything. There's a computer running in the background. It's mining for you. You get a coin, you get paid, or you're receiving a portion of a payment if you're in a pool or everything else. You're not actively the person that's doing the mining. Your computers are running for you. That's not happening right now, but I can see if that were to happen, that it would change to passive income. But currently it would be like a Schedule C. It will go on your Schedule C form. You'd be able to deduct the cost of your equipment against what you've made and everything else. That said, there is, so for example, the IRS has categories of hobbies and they have categories of business. So if you're mining, you're in the business to make money. You want to do the work to mine the coins and receive Bitcoin or whichever altcoin you're receiving as payment. But you are given a certain time frame to show that your mining is profitable. If you don't show that your mining is profitable, then the IRS can come back and recategorize your activity as a hobby. And if they recategorize as a hobby, they will only limit your deductions to how much money you've made. So if you've taken a loss for the last 2 years and 4 years in mining, you're spending a lot of electricity, you're buying a lot of equipment, it's very expensive, and you're not receiving the return on investment, then it's possible that your mining could be recategorized as a hobby.
Cool. Okay, so moving on, let's see. We're having a few of the same questions that we've answered already, but I'm just going to group these again because it seems like people may have asked or maybe they've forgotten. So the transaction gain side of things, basically, you know, how do you know for sure what the final price is given the volatility of Bitcoin and everything like that? Your answer to that was just that should be notated at the time of the transaction, so you can convert the Bitcoin into USD or your local fiat, so you know
exactly
what the sell price was on that front.
And they do give you the rates, they give you the time and everything else, because if you have one of these days where Bitcoin is $19,000 and then it's $14,000 all in the same day, you want to make sure you take note of the correct amount when the transaction occurred.
Definitely. And the other question, when using Bitcoin to purchase another coin, that is a taxable conversion, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
that is.
Definitely. Good from here.
As long as there's a gain, it is. But again, we are taking all of the gains minus all of the losses. We're netting them. And what that net final is, your net gain, your net loss, that is what you're reporting on your taxes. So I don't want people to be scared about this. Oh my God, I have a gain, because you really don't know. We're taking a whole entire year. We're taking a whole entire calendar year, all of the gains, all of the losses, netting them, and that's what's reported.
Interesting. So now I had an interesting comment. You know, my concern is finding someone trained to handle these transactions. Rebecca can't handle all of us. And looking at we have close to 300 people on the webinar. Can you handle 300 clients?
You know, I would love to have 300 clients, because that will ensure that I stay self-employed. That will ensure that I can hire people to work for me. I can't justify hiring people right now because I don't have the clients. However, there are CPAs. I'm in a group actually of CPAs and enrolled agents that have taken on the task to offer cryptocurrency advice for taxes and everything else. So, you know, if anyone is looking for someone local, they don't want to do something online, I can check around with my peers and say, hey, you know, I have a potential client here, and get you two hooked up. But like I said, I'd love to take on as much as I possibly can, because that just means I can hire someone to come work with me, or not even someone, maybe a couple of people, and grow my business, right?
So yeah, the answer to that question is keep it coming, right? You know, so we want everybody here we want to find you 300 new customers here tonight, and we want everyone to call you, and you'll be a good entrepreneur and solve that problem for all of us.
And that's definitely what I'm going to attempt to do. Like I said, right now it's been me by myself, so I've had to cut my phone off at some points. I've been having a lot of phone calls. If you contact me, email me, or set up a schedule, get on my calendar for us to actually talk over the phone. We'll figure it out from there. But I've literally had to cut my phone off just because I'm sitting in front of clients and my phone is ringing off the hook. So there is a message that will tell you if you need to get in touch with me, email me, or get on my calendar.
Great. Moving on, I bought Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum. Do I need to report what I bought?
No.
I never cashed out on gains. It's just sitting in the exchange.
No, so you don't have to report. However, please keep that information because that determines your basis. So make sure it's notated somewhere. Print it out, have it on an Excel spreadsheet, just tuck it away in a nice little folder. So at some point in time, if you decide to cash out, if you decide to convert the currency to another cryptocurrency, there's a reason why I keep correcting myself, and I'll get into that in a minute. But if you want to convert the cryptocurrency to another altcoin, we know what your basis is. And I just really don't know at this present moment how long the records are going to be maintained in the wallets. So we want to make sure that we have some documentation for your basis. Now, the reason why I keep saying cryptocurrency, again, the IRS does not consider this as currency. They consider this as property, sorry. So because it's not currency, we can't, we're not exchanging it like currency. We can't use currency rules against it. This is considered property. It falls under property rules for short-term and long-term capital gains when the value of the property rises.
And just to, highlight again on the property side, can you just repeat what the short-term and long-term gain rates are again?
Okay. So I'm sorry, Dag, I had this up and everything. So pretty much short-term, anything less than a year, it has higher tax rates than any property being held more than a year. So for example, I'm sorry, I had the rates up. I'm just using this as an example. Short-term rates can be as high as 25% of your gain, whereas long-term rates can be 10, 0, 15%. It just depends. It's depending on how much money you've made and everything else. There's a calculation that goes into this. So it's better to hold your cryptocurrency long-term. It's favorable tax rates long-term versus short-term.
Great. And altcoin to altcoin, that also is a taxable event. If
there is a gain, it can be if there's a gain, it's a taxable event. However, we're still netting the losses against the gains. So if the overall thing is a gain, then it's taxed. If it's a loss, you're reporting that on your income tax return, and you get to take up to $3,000 a year for the net loss. And if you have a net loss that's higher than $3,000, you carry it forward every single year.
Great. Moving on. If we hodl for years, do we just report when we make gain or loss, or do we report at the time of purchase or every year, even when we are still holding? Or let's say I bought in and held for years. Do I need to report my investment asset yearly or only when I take profit or loss?
Again, when you buy, you're going to take a snapshot, record it on your Excel, print off the transaction. That establishes your basis. That does not get reported on your tax return. When you cash out, if there's a gain, that will be reported on your tax return. If you convert from what you bought to a new altcoin, if there's a gain, that is reported on your tax return if there is a net gain or a net loss.
How will the IRS capture the basis information for my sale of Ripple if I hold Ripple on my Nano S?
So you will not, okay, when you're holding Ripple, that's not reportable. What is reportable is what happened before it. You have the Bitcoin that you purchased, then you moved to the new wallet, and at that time you converted that Bitcoin to Ripple. The conversion of the Bitcoin to Ripple is what you report. And like we explained earlier, this is on the, the honor system where, we're voluntarily reporting this. However, you could be audited at any time for any reason. Oh, this is actually a good point to bring this up. So a couple of months ago, I had a potential client come up to me and write me and say, hi, I wanted to know if you could help me because my previous tax preparer did a whole bunch of wrong things. She was giving extreme deductions and the IRS figured it out, went to the tax preparer, not the taxpayer. The IRS went to the taxpayer and audited all of the tax preparer's clients. So this lady that came to me wasn't even being audited. She had nothing wrong, but because the tax preparer was doing, writing off a whole bunch of things that she shouldn't have, the IRS came and audited her and then audited the rest of her clients. So you don't know if the IRS will audit you. There could be something that has nothing to do with you. You are nothing to do with you. And all of a sudden the IRS wants to, audit you because your tax preparer was doing nefarious things, as you say.
Okay, now another question. Cost basis wise, does the method have to be consistent year after year? Or how do you stay consistent year after year?
So you're going to pick, as we discussed earlier, you're going to pick LIFO, FIFO, which is last in, first out, or first in, first out. That just says if you buy, Bitcoin at some point, how you're going to take it back. This is a really complicated thing, but just to answer the question, be consistent. And actually, the IRS might actually tell us, hey, we're going to use FIFO because that's going to give, the best tax, the best tax for the IRS. So they're probably going to tell us, everyone, you're going to use FIFO for this. There hasn't been any formal notification on what we're supposed to use. So whatever you do use, just be consistent.
Cool. Moving on. This goes back to that LIFO, FIFO question. I guess we should clarify it again. If I buy one Bitcoin at $100 and one for $17,000, and now I have two Bitcoin, and then I instantly send one Bitcoin to purchase another coin, which coin is my basis?
Right now, that is your choice. However, I really imagine that the IRS is going to tell everyone you're going to use FIFO, first in, first out, which means the longer coin, which, in that case, if you held that longer coin for more than a year, that's probably in your favor. But generally speaking, FIFO is a higher tax versus LIFO. And right now it's your choice, but we may get guidance from the IRS that's saying, no, it's going to be FIFO, or this is how you're going to do it.
Okay, someone is still confused about when a taxable conversion occurs. A taxable conversion occurs whenever you exchange currency. So Bitcoin for an altcoin, altcoin for another altcoin. altcoin to cash, all that. Those are all taxable type events that occur. Will the new GOP tax plan change how Bitcoin is currently taxed?
That hasn't made it in, actually. I was taking a look at that, and as of right now, that's not addressed in there, which I really kind of wish it was, because I think if there was a lot more clarification, the questions maybe would go down. But at this present moment, we're still waiting on guidance, and it's not in there, at least not what I saw. I went through the results before we got on. I'm not seeing it.
Okay.
And yes, to answer Sonia's question, you can use the weighted the specific identification. But yeah, this is all of your choice. If you're going to use LIFO, FIFO, right now, that's your choice. That may not be your choice later, but as of right now, it is.
Okay, now let's get back to, people are asking, is this being recorded? The answer is yes. So this is going to be recorded and posted in the members section. Moving back to what we were at, here's another, call it, we're back to case studies again. So I spend $10,000 on coins and make $15,000 in 2017. So that means if I had $10,000 to begin with, and if I made 15 grand, I'd end up with a total of $25,000. So from a tax side, and let's say it's short term, and we assume the rate, we'll just throw out a rate of 20% or no, 25%. I would be taxed at 25% of the $15,000, right? Because the original 10 grand was basis. Is that correct?
No, it would be the 5,000. It's only on the gain. If that's the net gain.
Sorry, I said 15,000 was the gain. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm going on the question and hearing what you're saying.
Yeah,
okay.
Sorry, I changed it up. Yeah.
Okay, so if the net gain is 15,000, you would be taxed a short-term gain for holding it less than a year on your $15,000 gain.
Okay, so then the following year, my basis would start at the new basis, and then if I went from say 25,000 to 30,000, I would only pay for that $5,000.
Exactly. That new basis is there and it's reported, so you know what it is. There's record of it. You're reporting it. So it's not like you're going to get taxed on the whole entire gain all over again. You're going to get reported from the new basis.
So someone made a comment, all the profits are going to lawyers and CPAs. I guess, hopefully Rebecca's pricing is very reasonable. I'm not going to put words in her mouth, but.
Yeah, I think it's very reasonable because I saw that someone was, I believe he said he was charging like $1,000 for all of the reporting, because there's other reporting that we haven't even gotten to that it plays a role here. So for example, if you have 4 Bitcoins on Binance, you now have to report additional items such as FACTA, which is pretty much you're holding assets in overseas in another country. Over 50,000 at the end of the year, or 75. I'm sorry, I may have my figures confused at the present moment, but pretty much depending on how much you're holding and where you're holding it, there's additional reporting that needs to be done. So if you have, again, if you have, 5, 6, 7, 8 Bitcoins and located on a wallet in Binance, we're going to have to do additional reporting. And that is something that people may not be aware of. So this is all relative. It depends on what we need to file. It depends on who we need to file it with.
Wow, I didn't even think about that, because I was thinking once I get to Binance, it's like get out of jail free, and you're saying,
No, definitely not. And I mean, right now, if you're getting into crypto now, you're probably not going to have $50,000, $75,000 sitting on a Binance wallet exchange. However, if you got in this game early, if you were in 2013, 2014, and your Bitcoin has grown, you were one of the lucky ones, bought 100 Bitcoin back when it was only $100 each or whatever, this is additional reporting that needs to be done.
Is there a maximum loss that can occur in a tax year?
Yes, that's 3,000. And if you have additional losses more than 3,000, it's carried forward into the next year and the next year and the next year until it's used up.
Now, is there a way that I can structure myself as an entity to take advantage of even more losses?
Oh.
Maybe if you were a trader, could you say, can you take advantage of that? Because that's more of an active thing versus a I don't know. I'm just.
No, I hear what you're saying. Yes. Okay, I've been asked this question before. Hey, if I structure myself as a LLC, can will that yield tax favorability? I mean, I've talked to a couple other tax professionals about it, and we've all come to the same opinion. Like, it's not really worth it. There's going to be additional forms that need to be filed. There's going to be additional costs to it. We're not really seeing the benefit of it. This is something that I definitely had to sit down talk with others about, because I was just like, I get it. Everyone wants to figure out a way around this versus just saying, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm investing in. This is what I'm getting back, and I'll just pay the taxes and be done. So, yeah.
I guess there might be some benefits, like if I had an existing business, right?
Yes.
And I go to like the Bitcoin training session to learn about that, or I pay for my Digital Underground subscription and I can write that off against my.
Well, that has to be in your business. So for example, you have to, if you want to write off certain things, you have to be like, that has to be your purpose in business. Like, you can't be raising cattle or something like that and decide you want to write off a digital.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like, it has to match, it has to marry. And again, you could say, I don't even want to go there, not yet, because I haven't confirmed this yet. But like I said, you can't be in a business to like sell tires and then decide you want to write off a Digital Underground. Like, it doesn't work like that. It has to come together.
You just need to change your company name like Riot Blockchain, and then you can write off anything, right?
And then a whole bunch of people will want to invest in your company, and you make all these profits.
Speaking of, let's just take a quick second. I'm not saying taxes aren't important, but my head's hurting right now from so much tax talk.
Yeah.
I saw something. I don't know if you saw Overstock.com.
Yes.
There was an announcement that they're actually debating shutting down the business and putting all the money into doing a Bitcoin or a blockchain play.
Wow. I did not.
I kid you not. Like, it's on the now. I don't know if that could be fake news or not. So
yeah, I actually didn't catch that one, but that'll be interesting if they did. There's a whole bunch of rumors flying around. Like, I'm keep hearing that eBay is gonna formally announce that they're gonna accept Bitcoin, and so is Amazon. Haven't seen anything about it yet, but
definitely. So someone's asking about a self-directed IRA. Is that doable? Because I don't even know what I mean. I don't know the lingo. Like, basically, can you put the money in a self-directed IRA? I've used that for real estate and believe it has other uses, but I don't know about crypto.
All right. How about this? Let's come back to that question, because I want to take a look at that before I start saying anything.
Okay. And someone mentioned that I gave bad advice. Just to be clear, I'm not intending to give advice. If anyone's taking this as advice, don't listen to what I'm saying about this. I'm just coming up with questions to ask Rebecca, just from a curiosity perspective, everything like that. So everything I say, I know nothing about this topic. Rebecca's the expert here. I'm just being curious for all intents and purposes. For estate planning purposes, there needs to be designated beneficiary. Okay, that's a statement, I guess.
Oh, actually, no, but let's go back to that, though, because that is a point that I wanted to bring up, and I pretty much completely forgot about it.
Oh, great.
So a lot of people don't think about what happens to their Bitcoin when they die. Mm-hmm. And if you're going to invest in Bitcoin, I would strongly suggest that you plan for it, because you don't know when your day is going to come. So figure out, how will your family gain access to your coins? Who are the coins going to go to? You want to have these, because as it stands right now, if you're not around, your Bitcoin is literally just sitting somewhere and that's it. So that's wealth that your family could have had access to, but because they aren't able to get to it via your password or whatever else, now it's just sitting there and they're not able. So when you die, your family can gain control of your bank accounts and any other assets you have. Everything is put into your estate, and from there it's all figured out. But most people don't think about when they're going to die, so they don't do the planning. And I really feel with Bitcoin, a lot of people need to take that time to say, I could get hit by a bus tomorrow. What's going to happen? How would my family be able to access this? How would it even be pulled into my estate?
Wow,
I see. It's like every time I see you're clicking the questions and there's like more and more and more. Do you think we should have like a second session?
We could probably continue this. I mean, the thing is, people are going to ask questions. Everyone's got questions, so people will keep asking and asking. And at a certain point, I appreciate your generosity, but you got a life, and you do sell a professional service, so you can't be providing free consulting for everyone. But I think it might be a good idea. I mean, why don't I continue asking them and you not look at them? Not because I'm trying to prevent you, but I think if you keep looking at all the questions coming out, it's completely overwhelming.
No, I totally understand that. I just, we've been on for 2 hours.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I'm like, maybe we should schedule like a second seminar, and I can pull up some of this so that we can have some things ready. But I'm just
we definitely, I think we've got some good ideas, and maybe not next week because obviously the holidays, but the week after we could, hop back on because, we still have some time before tax season, and, I suspect you'll become a regular guest, okay, on all this.
Okay, and like I said, if anyone has any specific questions, not general, will my Bitcoin, be taxable when it converts, but like something specific that you want to talk about, please get on my calendar. My company's name is Pythagus LLC. The website is www.pythagus.com. That's spelled Pythagus. And I have a calendar schedule that you can go ahead and just book time to speak with me. It is kind of, because it is the holidays, there's not too much time left on the calendar for like the next week and a half or so. But until tax season, my schedule should be open again so that I can answer specific questions. And I definitely will come back and talk live regarding the general questions that everyone has. There'll be more people coming to the digital underground. There's more people getting involved in cryptocurrency every day. They're going to want this information as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's great.
And again, thank you for the marketing, the business. If you guys didn't reach out to me, I really appreciate you. I really appreciate Dr. Boyce Watkins for saying, hey, this is important. We want to get this out here, because a lot of the feedback I've also received is they're thankful that someone is coming on to speak about this versus all of the information that's being passed through the forums. Some of it is correct, some of it isn't.
Yeah, I'm not saying, we love the public group and we love all the energy, but there's a lot of emotion. And yes, sometimes, I give the example, would you really crowdsource heart surgery? No, because if I go to a stadium full of people and there's only 2 people that are actually qualified, the noise of the other 9,998 people will have me ignore or overlook those sorts of things. So when we're talking about tax advice and things like that, would I crowdsource tax advice in a general forum of, 40,000 people? Heck no.
Yeah.
Right? I would crowdsource it in a group of 5 trained CPAs, but not in the public forum or anything on that front. So with that, I guess my question to you, Rebecca, you've been incredibly generous with your time, and, I appreciate it because I know, you're a highly skilled individual that's probably worth, this time is very valuable. I have a feeling like with our Q&A, we'll go on and on and on and on. how much time do you have? Do we want to wrap things up? Do you want to keep going?
Yeah, let's wrap things up for right now, just because I also have something going on in the background that I actually need to take care of.
Oh, no, that's fine. I think we're all incredibly appreciative. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in on a Friday, giving up Star Wars.
Yes, definitely.
Make it over, and for, taking your time out for everything. We will definitely, I think, be having Rebecca back again.
Yes.
Probably, let's say 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, because with the holidays coming up, I mean, I feel bad about interrupting Star Wars. I'd feel awful interrupting Christmas.
No, it's fine. We had 200. I think we got up to 279 or something like that. So that's great. I'm glad that people joined in because they want to talk about this.
Yeah, no, people want to know. And to get in touch with you, it's pythagus.com. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
It's pythagus.com. You can go to pythagus.com, book a consult or a schedule with Rebecca. She's also active in the Digital Underground Forum.
Yes,
I recommend asking the question there instead of the public group, because our public group gets over 1,000 posts a day right now.
I agree.
And it will just get lost in the noise and everything. So for everyone out there, it's 9 o'clock. We're cutting it short so everyone can go back and enjoy themselves. If people have nuts and bolts type questions, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m., these are the, hey, I can't get my thing working with GDAX, or Coinbase is pissing me off, or all those sorts of things. We have a session scheduled for then. And until then, good night. Thank you again, Rebecca, for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And we'll definitely be in touch and schedule another session. Definitely want to get back to doing this.
Alrighty. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.